All right, good afternoon, guys. This is Nitha Ramachandra from the NR Hour Sports Show. This is episode 849, joined by a really special guest, I should say friend now, Ashlea Bullington. She's a sports journalist. She's on the show for the third time, and I'm really looking forward to having her back on the show. She's one of the best out there. She's beautiful, inspiring. Go follow her on all social media formats. Go check her out. First of all, Ashlea, how are you and your family doing? And welcome back on the show for the third time.
We are good, just living life down on the lake in Texas. It's great. I mean, so I was on a show last night too, and I'm getting so flattered by people that are inviting me on. Dang, I think I'm gonna get on the hot chair, and y'all are all just talking me up like I'm some big deal. I love it, but thanks. Yeah, we've just been like hanging out. So this summer I've been really working with an entity at my company called Sports Stars of Tomorrow. So I've been doing a lot with that, just trying to get their social media up and running and talking to some of the top recruits across the nation, going to tournaments, about to travel a little bit, go to Ohio and some other places to kind of help out with some content for them. Just got back from Houston the other day, which was super fun. And then I've been running my business. I have a little production company called Bull Res Productions. We kind of help businesses build their social media platforms and their brands via digital marketing and social media. But I have a couple of sports clients. I mostly work with businesses outside of sports, but I have a couple of sports clients that I work with them as well. I have a promoter that I do some visit MMA fighters, UFC fighters, and then I have a sports agent that I work with. I just got back from Houston. He had a player get drafted in the 6th round, so we covered that. It was really fun to get to be like the digital content creator, creating the video that him and his family are going to look back at 5-10 years from now and be like, oh, this was the best day of my life. So that was super fun. Other than that, just I've been busting my tail working like typical Ashley Bullington stuff. Nothing too fun. I mean, everything's fun. I love what I do. But nothing too crazy. It's been nice to kind of have things back to normal, and be able to go out and do things and get to go to these tournaments. I actually met with her name is Emma. She's on the gymnastics team for the Olympics. I've talked to a couple of Olympians lately, so that's been pretty fun getting to kind of talk to them before they go to Tokyo. But other than that, just kind of living life, having fun, doing the day-to-day, trying to keep life together, because most people who know me know I'm a hot mess. So
Yeah, no, you're amazing. You're a hard worker. I see that all the time on your page, and we've been obviously, this is your third time back, and I've been connected with you for a long time, and you're such an inspiration, like I said earlier. So for you, what's it like because last year, when the sports got shut down, we didn't know what was going to happen with, especially reporters, because a lot of reporters got laid off, or they had to get or they stepped down. But for you, what's it like just to work on multiple things at the same time? Right now, from last year to now?
So I always had my job, because I work in a different side. So like I said, if anybody's listened before, like I work for a production company. So what my route in sports has been so much different than like your typical reporter, your typical sideline reporter, your typical journalist, because I didn't really take that normal path. I worked for one TV station, and then after that I worked for a grassroots sports network / crewing company. I worked for teams. I worked as an editor, as a freelancer, all kinds of stuff, until I got this job that I work at now, and I have a very stable job. We didn't lose anybody at the company that I work at, so like my route in sports has been way different than most people's has. So for me, I was going to talk about this last night that I was on. For me, I learned at a very young age. Granted, I didn't have the confidence in myself like I do now as I'm almost 30, like I should have when I was 21, 22, 23. I have this confidence in myself, knowing that like, not only can I do my full-time job, but I'm a hard enough worker that I can have a second job. I can have a business. And I come from a family of entrepreneurs. Both my parents, my mom owns 2 businesses. My dad is doing literally all kinds of things. I swear every single night he works till like 2 a.m. on different businesses. He owns his own business. He owns 3 businesses. Wow. And then also has started this new leadership program that he's been super big on. So for me, and all my mentors, every single one of my mentors, Emily Jones, Gina Miller, Jane Slater, all
Hmm.
of these people, they have these, yes, they are super successful women in sports media industry, but every single one of them has a side hustle. So for me, I learned very young in my career that like I needed to find something else that I was passionate about too, because I'm only going to be young and pretty and in my mid 30s for so long. And then it's a lot harder for me to get jobs. There's 1,000, 2,000, 600,000 women coming up, men coming up who are going to be just as good as I was or as I am now coming out of college, because there's way more opportunities for young people than there used to be. So that's kind of how my business actually started, because one of my girlfriends wanted a wedding videographer.
Hmm.
And so she was like looking around, she's like, I can't fit anybody into my budget. So I was like, okay, wait. I'm gonna hire one of my friends. We're gonna hire two of my friends. They're gonna shoot it. I'm gonna tell them what to do the whole time, even though I'm in the wedding. I'm gonna tell them what to do, and then I'm gonna edit it for you, and I'm gonna give you it for your wedding gift for me.
Right.
So then I started doing like other weddings and stuff. And then I was like, you know what? I can make digital content. I literally run a digital content department. Like I started all their stuff from scratch. I can totally do that for these people, like all these other businesses too. And it's just kind of started to take off, and it's starting to become more profitable than I ever thought it would be. And a year later, I am in a position where it's like, oh wow, like I'm actually doing a lot better for myself than I thought I was. I mean, granted, I'm still kind of like a new business owner, so where you're kind of young, dumb, and don't know what's going on. So I'm at that point. Thank God I have great parents who are helping me through that, and I ask questions, or they're telling me, oh, you don't know this, so you need to go do this. So that kind of stuff. But it's been super great, and I love it. And for me, it's been so molding, I think is the best way to put it, because I've been able to really like shape myself, my personality, my passions, and put them into the things that I like. Like I have such a passion for helping people build their businesses. I have a passion for going out and shooting content and like creating stories, or like I did on Monday, where I got to go with one of my best friends and my first client to go to a draft party that we were throwing for his guy that got drafted in the 6th round. Like it was cool for me to be able to go do that, and to also do it with my first client ever that I pulled off of social media, because his social media sucked.
Yeah.
Excuse me. That I called him one day and was like, hey dude, like let me run your social, or let me make your social media content. And that's like between a bunch of different like factors, that's kind of how my business started. And for me, it's been super beneficial, and my whole career like choice, my whole career path changed it like that. Like it was no longer, oh my God, I have to be on television. It's like, no, you know what? I'm going to run my own production company, possibly make my own network, and I'm going to be like Ted Turner one day. I've always told people I really admire Ted Turner, and there needs to be a female Ted Turner. You know what? It might as well be me. Like, granted, that probably won't happen, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so this is a two-part question, and I want to ask you, what's the experience like for you covering high school football, and what's it like seeing finally fans back into sporting events?
So we actually got to have fans last year back in Texas. So it's not that like, oh God, like we all knew it was going to happen sooner or later. I think being from Texas, I'm a little bit more spoiled than most people are, just because we've kind of, how do I say it the best way? We kind of have been at the forefront of like getting things back open. So it's been nice for that atmosphere. And like, I know the seniors and that kind of stuff that I was covering were really upset that they didn't really get that final year of that atmosphere. Here in Texas, we all know football is king, and high school football is definitely king. Like there's so much money in high school football. I live in DFW, and Allen McKinney, there was another school, but Allen and McKinney, both have $60 million facilities. Literally, colleges, there are some colleges that are envious of these facilities. They're beautiful. The locker rooms are beautiful. Like it's literally like walking onto a college campus. So I think the players were upset for that part of it. But I mean, I love covering high school football. It's been great. You know, we start at the end of August, so it's almost time to get back and rolling. The business I work for, we've been covering high school football all summer though, so I'm already ready for it. You know, it's like it never ended. I literally go from basketball season right back into covering high school football. So that's been interesting. And the high school football scene is definitely changing, and it's super fun, and I enjoy watching it. I enjoy seeing the other states that I've been to recently kind of and how they're growing and how high school football is becoming more prominent like it is there. It's actually what I found really interesting is, though I know IMG Academy has a great football team, I think that is one of the only ones that can compete with some of the top Texas teams. But I was talking to a swimmer the other day, and swimming is like king down there. Like swimming is like high school football. So I find it so interesting to be talking to some of these kids that I get to talk to and see like the difference and like different sports and different things. Like up north, lacrosse is king. Like who would have thought? Because in Wyoming, they don't even have high school baseball because like it's too cold and you can't play it. So like just really interesting to see the different atmospheres and the different things and the different how different states do different things. Which that's been really cool. And then, like I said, here in Texas, like we've been having fans. I got to go to Game 7 of the NLCS.
Wow.
I almost went to the World Series. So like for us here, it's been pretty normal to have fans. It's just, it'll be nice to see the stadiums for high school football packed again and really seeing that atmosphere and not having people feel like, yeah, there's going to be some restrictions, but not having people feel like they're so restricted that they can't go enjoy the game with their friends and family and make it as enjoyable as possible for not only them, but the players on the field. And I think that was kind of the difficult part for some of these guys last year, was that they wanted to play and they wanted their senior year, but they definitely wanted it with the, oh my gosh, like my whole school and the whole other school's fans are here to like cheer us on. And we just didn't really have that last year.
Yeah, obviously I already know how football is in Texas because I'm a Cowboy fan. I'm a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. So I want to ask you, what players should we be looking out for in high school in Texas when it comes to, because when especially seniors, when they decide to
put me on the spot, aren't you? Okay. You gotta give me a second on this one. I mean, obviously Quinn Ewers, I mean, everyone knows who Quinn Ewers is, top quarterback in the entire nation. I mean, he even caught Pat McPhee's attention not too long ago, and it wasn't for his play, it was for his hair, of all the things in the world. So Quinn's definitely one to keep an eye out for. There's a kid, he's out of Summer Creek down in Houston. His name's Kelvin Banks. Kelvin is 6 foot, like 300 pounds, going to Oregon, one of the top O linemen in the entire nation. He's pretty phenomenal. Gosh, you're really putting me on the spot here. Give me just a second. I gotta look. I have an actual email that has like all these guys that I've talked to recently. Let's see. Ollie Gordon is actually another really good one to look out for. Ollie is this like underrated running back. He's like 6'4". He goes to ULS Trinity. And he last year. So Allen is a pretty well-known school in not only Texas, but in the country. That's where Kyle Murray went. They're known for breeding champions. They actually had a guy come out of Allen. His name is General Booty, and that is exactly what his name is. I don't understand why anybody would call their child that, but hey, you know what? That's his name. So Ollie is this guy's name, and he literally put his team on his back, scored 6 touchdowns, and had over 495 yards in this like playoff game to determine who's going to go to the state semifinals. So Ollie Gordon's definitely one. I'm trying to think of other people. I think that's all I got for you right this second. If you were going to ask me that question, you should have told me yesterday. I could have had a whole list for you. But there's some really good quarterbacks, like always in DFW. Sorry, I'm about to drink on we're not sponsoring anybody here. So, I mean, there's some really great quarterbacks in DFW. There's a kid, his brother's name is Trajan brother's name's Trajan. He goes to OU. I can't remember his first name. I think his name's Trey. But Trey is going to be a phenomenal wide receiver that comes out. Like, he's going to be like a Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's going to be like his brother. He's going to be like some of these top wide receivers that have come out of DFW, I got a feeling. And he's pretty legit as well. And then like Landon Sampson, he plays with Quinn Ewers over at Southlake. He's a junior this year, not a senior, but that kid's got some talent. Like, we got some great talent around here. I know I should do a better job of remembering them all, but their names are really hard.
Oh, you got most of it down. That's good.
I mean, I've got some of them down here and there. I do a little bit better once the season starts getting going. I try to base kids not on like their rankings or their like what they've done in the years past. I try to really remember them based on like what they do this year and like their merit that they have within like the year. So it's been there's so many players, and I cover Houston and DFW, and now I cover now I cover nationally as well. So there's just so many players.
So switching gears now, obviously you just said you were at a draft party for this year's draft, and I saw your pictures that you posted with the agent, and what was that like experience, like seeing a player getting drafted, and what did you think of the draft this year?
So I thought the draft was good for the fact that I think it's interesting that it's cut down to 20 rounds now. So one, these kids are getting more money than they were in the past. So that's nice. You're also not having like the bottom of the barrel kind of guys that are just getting drafted to get drafted. I always kind of had an issue with that. And I was joking around with Matthew actually, and I was like, hey, I've dated some of these baseball players, and like, this is actually the first time I've ever been to a draft party. Like, this is kind of cool. Though I worked it, which was different. And Matt's guys are a little bit different compared to like other guys. Like, they're not like a Wasserman. They're not a CAA. He's not an MVP. He picks guys, and guys pick him based on the fact that they're grinders. Like, these guys aren't first round draft picks. These guys aren't second round draft picks. These guys are just straight up grinders. Like, they weren't the best coming out of high school. They weren't the best coming out of college, but like, it's obvious, like they make it. Like, he's got 7 guys in the big leagues right now because they bust their tail and they want to prove that they can be there. So for that, his name was Spencer Argetty. He went to UL. He got drafted out of UL. He was a 6th round draft pick to the Houston Astros, which is really cool because he is actually from Houston. So that was really fun. I think it was really cool for the atmosphere of, being kind of that fly on the wall, knowing things before everyone else knows them kind of thing. Because Matt and I had been talking days before about what kind of the plan was. So it's kind of cool for like that aspect of it, because I've gotten to see the war room side of it, but I've never seen like the agent side of it. So it's just different. I mean, the like highs and lows and like the stresses of it, because originally like they thought he was going to go in 4th round, and then like it was, oh, he's going to go in the 5th round. And then it was like, oh my God, are they going to call us? Like, if they don't call us, like, what do we do? So for like that atmosphere of like the whole, oh my gosh, okay, how do we feel about this? Like, what's going on at home? Like, that part of it was interesting. But then to see like the emotions of the family, like, that's the part that I loved. Like, I love the fact that I got to watch this kid who, since he was 8 years old, is getting to accomplish his dream. Like, and not only that, but he was a pretty high draft pick too, which is awesome. And then like to see his family and their reaction, like these people were so proud of him and so elated for him, and just like the genuine emotion of it was amazing to me. I love that kind of stuff. And then one of my brother's best friend's little brothers got drafted in the 5th round, and he got offered some mad money. Like, when I saw that, I was like, wait, 5th round?
Wow.
Like, that's way different than it used to be. Because I remember they did a guy, he got drafted in the supplemental round. He's like 36 overall that year, and he only got like $600,000. And this kid getting drafted in like the 5th round was getting like real close to $1 million plus extra. And he also was going to high school, so he's getting that like school money too. So you're just gonna sit in there like, wait, like, is it that much of a difference now that these guys are like having this many less rounds? I covered Jordan Lawler this year, 6th-round draft pick for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, we all knew Jordan was going to go, but it's like, wait, now I'm curious how much money Jordan's getting because that's a high draft pick and the Diamondbacks stink. They're so bad.
Yeah.
They're so bad.
So I want to ask you about the Texas Rangers. They drafted their ace, Jack Flaherty. I mean, not Jack Flaherty.
Lighter.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, I don't know why I just said the Cardinals pitcher, but Al Leiter's son. So what was your thoughts on that? I think he's gonna be a stud in the major. He's
So I'll be 100% honest because I had somebody on a podcast last night asking about the Rangers. I really don't follow the Rangers a ton, but I thought it was a good draft pick. The one thing about the Rangers that is so frustrating is the fact that the Rangers draft really well. They build really well, but for some reason haven't been able to figure it out like the Giants did or the Kansas City Royals or even so much as the Houston Astros or who won last year? I can't remember.
Tampa Bay Rays and Dodgers.
Yeah, like or the Tampa Bay Rays or the A's. Like how can you not figure it out? Like you have these amazing players like honestly, Joey Gallo, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, you have the ability to have this really great team. So I've just kind of learned as somebody who's from the Metroplex and has followed the Rangers in quite a bit of like my time, that kid is probably getting traded at some point in time. Like he probably won't make it to the big leagues with the Rangers. And if they were smart, they would keep him, but they have this problem of like, right now they're talking about trading Joey Gallo. Okay, guys, I get it. You're rebuilding. You can get a lot for Joey Gallo, but why the heck would you trade your next Michael Young, your next Elvis Andrus? Like, I know that Joey Gallo does not want to be the outright leader, but sometimes, bro, you just got to step up and do it. And he's the one that's going to do it. Like, he's the one that they're looking to be like the golden boy, to be their poster boy. It's not Izzy. It should be Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, but they're not doing it. They're not saying, oh, this is our guy. They're saying, oh, Joey Gallo is, because he's getting the attention. He hits the bombs. He's like an Aaron Judge, like that kind of stuff. So why would you go trade your golden boy? Look what happened when the Diamondbacks did it. They traded Paul Goldschmidt, and now they stink so bad that nobody, excuse me when I say this, and please, I'm not giving any names, so none of them can get mad at me. But like the whole team, nobody wants to play for the Diamondbacks.
Right.
It is miserable. Every single one of those players, if you were to talk to them, talk about how miserable it is to be in that dugout. Like, and that's because they don't have anybody leading them. They don't have anybody who's going to say, you know what? Like, this is a load of crap. Like, the way we're playing is worse than our AAA team. Like, we should just trade places. If you don't want to come to work today, then quit freaking coming. Like they need somebody who's going to do that. And Joey Gallo's that person right now. They're looking to him. So why go look to trade your golden boy that you could get everything for? Like, go trade someone else. Like, go trade your right fielder, get a little less for him, but get a bunch of prospects. Like, I mean, we did it to Chris Davis, and then Chris Davis went and won an MVP. Like, and granted, he stunk here, but he won an MVP.
Yeah, actually, there's been talk that Joey Gallo might come to the Yankees. I don't know. I mean,
why would they? What is he gonna do for the Yankees?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, where could you even put him on the field?
Yeah.
Like, and on top of that, the Yankees have depleted, well, not completely depleted, but have almost depleted their minor league system to the point where they have nothing to trade for. Like, are they going to go in a 3-way trade and they're going to trade some big name for Joey Gallo and then like get somebody else to put in a bunch of little prospects for Joey Gallo? I don't think that happens. But like, there's a guy that I know that pitches with the Yankees on like in the minor leagues, and granted, he stinks this year, but like last year he was pitching really well. The Yankees never wanted to call him up. Like, they kind of stockpile like young, okay guys, and then they like make them look way better than they are, and then they trade them off. But like, they don't have anything right now in their minor league systems because everything's in your big league team. But look what's going on with the big league team right now.
Right.
They can barely win a game. You poor things.
Yeah. Okay. So the last.
Garrett Cole though.
Yeah,
oh boy.
Can you hear me?
No, I can hear you.
Yeah. So the last few things before I let you go, for you, what's it like learning about these young players' personalities, where they grew up from, and how hard they work to get to where they want to be. And what's that like for you just to learn from that? And then the next question here, what are you most looking forward to for this year's Olympics?
So are you talking about just high school in general, or are you talking about like
High school in general? Yeah.
okay. So I mean, I think as somebody who was there myself, it's not as like interesting to learn how much hard work it takes, because I know it takes hard work. Like it's not anything new. Just because I mean, I play college soccer, I play pro soccer. Like it's not something like the hard work isn't what I find interesting. It's more of how much the hard work has changed over the last like 10, 15 years. So like when I was playing, it was you train every night. Like you train multiple hours a day every night. You bust your butt. You probably are burned out by the time you make it to college. And that just is what it is. Like nowadays, I was talking to this kid the other day, and she was like, so she's going to TCU, which is where I went. And she was like, oh yeah, Ashley, like we've got to go. Like I've got recovery, I've got cryo, I've got this, I've got that. And I'm like, you've got what? Like I didn't even do that in college. So I think it's just like the difference and what the grind means now. I will also say this. I think this next generation of athletes, though they are extremely elite, are a little soft. Just for the fact that like I was talking to like this dad, and I'm just going to use soccer as the example just because that's what I know. So we played 3 times a week, every week. Like we abused our bodies. Granted, that is why most of us hurt like we do nowadays. These girls are playing like 30 games a year max. Like we played like dang near 300 games a year. Like these girls are playing like, or I guess more like 150 games, but like these girls are playing like 30 games a year, and that's it. Wow. You're like 30? Like that's it? Like you're paying all that money to play 30 games?
Crazy.
So I think like for that, I'm gonna say this. I think this next generation of athletes is just a little bit soft for the fact that like the mentality that it takes to like for the grind of it, the mentality that it takes. I mean, the baseball players, they play like 22 games a week. Like there is no softness in that one. But like the soccer players and like the football players and that kind of stuff, they're kind of soft for the fact that like they don't have like as like they train a ton and they do all this recovery, but they don't really play a ton. Like it's different when you're going and you're playing, and then you got to turn around and go play again, and you got to turn around and go play again and again. Maybe you're playing like 6 games in like 2 days, and like that kind of stuff is what really gets it. Like I was seeing this guy for a little bit, and he's got this 13-year-old group of boys. I hope none of the moms ever listen to this because I'm about to call their kids out. So this little 13-year-old group of boys, they just like don't have that fire. Like, I mean, the elite athletes, they obviously do because their parents help them with that. Like they train, they kind of that kind of stuff. But like, I just remember growing up, like for me, everyone, like if your parents were paying for you to play a sport, like you had it, like you had that fire. Like these kids just don't have that like winning fire mentality sometimes. Like it's just like enough for them to put on a jersey and walk on the field, and their parents are paying 20 grand a year for them to play. Like my mama, if I would have walked onto a field and not given my all every single game and then told her I was tired, she would have popped me upside the head and told me that I needed to go find a new sport, or I needed to go like do something else with my time. Because there was like a lot that like these parents and these people and like parents and athletes put into, you know what, hey, this is my goal. And some people are just like taking select sports as like a pastime. And I find that so weird. Like, because like it was a privilege to get to play. Like it was a privilege to be one of the best in the country when I played. It was a privilege to be the top 3 goalkeepers. Like my hard work paid off. So to see these kids like putting in all this hard work and not really caring about the outcome and like being a little soft, to me is crazy. The most elite of the elite though, they're elite. Like they're good. Like rating along the way and like putting together these children, that is insane to me, because you have some freak athletes. I was talking to a kid yesterday. He's in the 2022 class for baseball. He's 6'2", 200 pounds, and unofficially runs a faster 60 than Billy Hamilton does.
What?
Billy Hamilton is the fastest baseball player in baseball, and this kid ran a unofficial 60 in 6:08. Like, and Billy Hamilton's, I'm 5'9". Billy Hamilton's shorter than me, and it weighs $150. So like the kids who are elite, but there's like beginning to be this big gap between the really elite and like the good. And there used to not be as big of a gap between the elite and the good.
Right.
So that was that. There was a second question that you asked me.
Yeah. So, what are you most looking forward to for this year's Olympics?
Oh, I love the Olympics. The Olympics is one of my favorite things on the planet. If one day, hey, NBC, if you ever watch this, you need some like funny kind of sassy person.
Hey, they have to bring her on. We need Ashlea Bullington as one of the reporters to cover the Olympics. I think you deserve it.
Like a digital content reporter, though. Let's be honest. Like my sassiness does not need to be on television. Unless it's some opinion show. Come on now, like let's be serious here. So I love the Olympics. And one of my favorite things to watch, which is actually so interesting to me because it's the most watched sport in the Olympics, is swimming. Which, how often do you say, oh, I'm going to sit down and watch some swimming? You don't, unless the Olympics is on. Though there is now a professional swimming league. It's an international swimming league too. But so I'm really excited to watch swimming. There are actually 11 teenagers on the U.S. Olympic swim team this year. 4 of them, maybe 6 of them, one of the 2 of being high schoolers. So there's quite a few high schoolers on the actual swim team. There's a kid from Florida who I cannot remember his name. It's Arrington or something like that. He beat Usain Bolt's 200 time.
Wow.
He's 17 years old. He will be a senior in high school this year. I'm excited to watch him run. I was actually really excited to see Sha'Carri Richardson run. She's the PFW product. I am a little bit upset the fact that she's not getting to run, but at the same time, I will say this because I believe in it. If you know what the rules are and you choose to break the rules, then obviously like there are repercussions for your actions. So no matter how much we want her to run, those are the rules. I'm a little upset about the transgender rules. But that's because I was a female athlete and I do not believe, like, the power lifter bothers me. Men are created differently than women are. Your centers of gravity are in your are in your abs versus being in your hips like they are for women. So just that fact alone, that's why men are faster than women. That's why men don't tear their ACLs as often. That's why men don't tear their ACLs as often as women do. Those kinds of things, because our bodies are built differently. So no matter how much estrogen is going through your body, you cannot change certain things about your body. So that bothers me a little bit, just for the fact that there are some women who work so hard their entire lives and are getting an opportunity taken away from them. And we're talking about equality and those kinds of things. And that's not equality. That is not the way, like, I have no problem with anybody who decides what they want to do with their body. That is completely on them. But at the same time, it's like, biological women and transgender women are different to a certain degree. And so if that's the case, like, let's have our own category for them. Like, I want them to get to compete, but like, have your own category. I'm a little interested to also see how the protesting goes for athletes. I mean, if you watch around the world right now, there are socialist countries, there are communist countries who are using the American flag as like a symbol of unity and a symbol of what they want their country to turn into. So yes, I do understand that there is oppression. I do understand that there are things that need to be changed, but I just don't know if the Olympic platform is the right platform to use it for, because the Olympic Games are actually started for the fact that, governments weren't allowed to dictate what was going on during the Olympic Games. It was athletes coming together, it was countries coming together, forming unity. And there's been athletes from other countries coming out and saying, if I acted like that, I would be murdered. Or there are like the Chinese athletes who are actual slaves to their government because that's what their government dictates. That's what their communism dictates. And I just think that, like, for those things, I'm curious to see what happens. I'm curious to see if those athletes choose to still act like that. you know, whatever, use your platform however you want. But I feel like, why would you want to compete for a country that you don't believe in, kind of thing? If you do, there's ways to get to the Olympics that you don't have to have the USA across your chest. And as somebody who wanted to be an Olympic athlete, like, I get it. I'm not in a minority, so I can't go and say from that fact, like, oh, I understand, because I don't, for that thing. And I try to recognize that part of it. But I also say, for like myself, as you know, I am a minority in a lot of things that I do, because women are looked down on still. And for that, I just don't understand, like, why you would want to be a part of something so big and represent something that's supposed to be so much bigger than yourself. If you aren't proud, like, yeah, you're proud of yourself, but you're not proud of like what it is, because the Olympic Games is part of it. It's being proud of your country. Part of it's being, you know, proud to represent. And so for me, like, that's just a little bothersome, I guess, just for the fact that, like, you're going out, you're representing yourself in front of all these people, and like, you're going to do that, and the world's going to look at you and they're going to call you stuck up. Like, they're going to say that you don't understand, that you have no feel. There are things going on in other countries that we can't even fathom here in America. Like, we thought that people trying to take over the Capitol was a coup. I'm sorry. Have you ever actually witnessed a coup? Like, have you ever seen the destruction, or have you ever been so terrified of your government that, like, what is it, sarin or cyanide or whatever it is, like, you're getting bombed, like, you're scared that you and your family are going to get bombed by your own government. So I just feel like, I get it. Like, I understand in the past, like, when slavery was still in, or like discrimination was still a huge part of America, right, that athletes use that as a platform. But I feel like the athletes in the past did it extremely gracefully. They did it very gracefully, and did it in a point that it caused movements. I think just acting like you don't care, or like this BMX rider who said she's going to burn the flag. Like, I just feel like that's just so, like, there are literally people across the world who want to be an American, and they want to do it the right way too. Like, they want to come over here. They want to bring their families here, have asylum, become citizens, those kinds of things. And you're telling them, like, you're literally looking at them and you're telling them, like, oh, well, we have it, and we're going to shit on your dreams right now. Like, and that to me is so upsetting, for the fact that, like, the US, yeah, we have our kinks, but we're not such a bad place to live that, like, other people's problems are more important than ours. Like, that just kind of goes to show our entitlement.
Yeah, and even Sha'Carri Richardson, she owned up to it, saying sorry.
Yes, that was such a big thing for her. Like, I get it. You know what? Sometimes people need those releases and those ways to cope. And you know what? It was big on her to be able to say, you know, I'm sorry. Like, I know I screwed up. This happened. I know I messed up, and this is this and this. That reporter should be ashamed of herself or himself, whoever told her that her mother had passed away. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, you have all of these athletes in outrage about it, saying, oh, let her run. Like, oh, the US team needs to let her run. Well, it's not actually a US track rule. It's an Olympic track rule. And the Olympic track rules are different than the swimming track rules. Like, people are comparing her to Michael Phelps. The swimming rules are different. Like, the fact of the matter is that the rules are different for different sports. And no matter what it is, like, if you don't mind the rules, there's repercussions. Like, it's like putting your hand on a stove and saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to put my hand on this stove and I'm just going to hope it doesn't burn me. Right. Well, the stove's probably turned on and it probably will burn you. Like, oh, it's hot, but let me just try. Like, come on now.
Yeah. But there it is. That wraps up episode 849 with returning guest Ashlea Bullington for the third time. Thank you again for coming on the show. Keep up the great work, and man, you're such an inspiration. Go follow her, go check her out. She does amazing stuff, and keep up the great work, and you and your family stay safe.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Anytime.